Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Darren, and I'm a solutions architect at AWS, and I'm your host for today's episode of AWS GameTime. AWS GameTime is where we get to speak with the creators and game developers of your favorite games and understand behind the scenes of how they make their games work from a technical standpoint and what AWS tools and services they use to make it happen. Today, I'm joined by Jordan and Jonathan from Riddlebit Software, and we are going to talk about the game they're working on at the moment, Setback, which is in playtesting on Steam right now. Hi, Jonathan. Hi, Jordan.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us on stream today. Hope you're both doing really well. Please let us know. Please let our audience know who you are and what you're up to at Riddlebit Software.
Yeah,
you want to go first?
I can start. My name is Jonathan. I am the producer at Riddlebit, so I organize the project. That's short about me.
Wow, that's very short. I'm Jordan. I do marketing and communication at Riddlebit, so I'm kind of the voice of the players a bit, and I talk to the players and try to get the game that the devs are making out to the people. That's my main role.
Yeah, really, really cool. And before we really get into the details of Riddlebit Software and the game Setback, how did you both get into the game industry? Like, what was your journey?
Yeah. So I was, I think, about 11 when I started touching game development with GameMaker, a very nice program. And then I sort of, life happens. And fast forward, I go to university. I study computer science, and some of my friends were really into games. So we started, discussing some ideas, and we just had the idea that why not start a company? Why not start a game development company? And the rest is history. So that's short about my journey.
Mine was a little bit less direct, I think. I had always really liked the idea of working in the game industry, and it was always a dream of mine. But at the same time, I didn't like the traditional jobs that would get you in. I wasn't a huge fan of programming. I wasn't really into art, but I was really into the business side of things. And so I kind of just went down the road doing the marketing stuff. For the last company was like a tech place. Then this opportunity kind of landed in my lap where I got the perfect combination of like the skill set I have and the game industry that I want to be in. And so it was kind of the perfect storm. And then now I'm here.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. So thanks for sharing that, right? Really inspiring how, there are so many different paths to get into the game industry. And that's, it's great, right? There's an opportunity for everyone as long as the passion's there for it. But today we're going to talk about Setback. So could you please give us a bit of a elevator pitch about the game and what the premise is, and then we can probably dive into a company trailer as well.
Yeah, so you'll obviously get some more details later, but the quick pitch is that Setback is an online shooter, but you cannot die. You are instead rewinding back through time. And combining with parkour mechanics and consumable Mario Kart style items and big arenas, that makes up a game where you compete in like different game modes, in mobility-based game modes. So it's sort of a new twist on the shooter. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I think I lost you.
Darren is frozen. I think we are good. I'm looking at Twitch and it looks like only Darren is frozen.
I'm jumping in a little bit. Not a problem. We might be still live. Hey, everybody. Darcy here.
Yeah, I'm looking at Twitch.
Yeah, we're live.
It's our show now.
Awesome. But meanwhile, we get kind of refreshed Darren there a little bit. He's not an AI bot for sure. He's a real human being. We're just going to try to get him back here. No, it seems that we lost a little bit. But still, happy to go further in the journey where you started.
We could play the sizzle reel maybe.
We could play the sizzle reel now if you want.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, that would be nice time to fill the...
So this is the game as he's talking about.
Yeah, it's an online first-person shooter where instead of dying, you are rewinded back to a previous location 3 seconds ago.
excitedly.
Come on, look
excitedly.
excited. Come on.
It's totally real. Yes. Look more excited.
Okay, so we're here at Riddlebit Studios booth. They're playing Setback, the game they're developing right now.
This is my favorite game. It's so fun. Oh my god.
As you can see, we have enthusiasts at the booth.
Yeah, so welcome back, Darren.
Yeah, sorry about that. Unexpected disconnection, but happy to be back. And I was able to catch most of that trailer as well. Really, really cool. Just maybe we could talk a little bit more about how did Riddlebit grow into the team today?
Yeah. So if we could get the slides, then I can show our story. Let me see. Yeah, perfect. So this is our logos. Riddlebit started in 2017, but in 2018, early 2018, we were aware of a competition in Norway called Norwegian Game Awards. It's a student competition, and we were all students at the time. So we threw together a demo for Setback, actually, and we made a game like this. A beautiful game with essentially pills and guns. This was the same premise, really, that you rewind people through time, but without everything else, essentially. So very pure tech demo, and it won. So like this first picture is from the scene when we got our award and stuff, and that sort of springboarded the project into existence. And fast forward, the game is more similar to this today. So some of these are a bit old, but so it went from this tech demo and over time grew into this quote unquote real game. So the team, this is us. We grew a lot last year. So for a good while, it was only us founders from the tech demo times. And we stayed like that for like 2 years. Then we grew a bit in 2020 and a bit in 21. But 22, that was when we got some funding and we were able to grow from 7 to 12. That's how Jordan joined, for example. So that was beautiful. So this is a very recent photo of the whole team. So actually, we are kind of one more today. So it's steadily growing, and we wish to become even bigger. So that's the short version of our story.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And it's like so many people from different backgrounds, different countries, all passionate about working at Riddlebit. What would you say is kind of the unique thing about the Riddlebit culture? What makes Riddlebit Riddlebit?
So like some main takeaways there. I mean, every company is unique, and of course we love games, playing them, making them. So that's a prerequisite for being a game developer, I guess. But more specifically, we are very tech focused because which is part of our DNA. Sort of, we're founded by 4 software engineers and an economy guy. So it's kind of natural that we always prioritized the tech side and brought the methods from that area of development. And at the same time, we sort of want to do a sort of futuristic game, so not sci-fi, but like we want to make innovative games that sort of push the boundaries a bit. I mean, every company says that, but then they release in the next installment in the franchise. But we really want to do innovation and like try things that nobody has done before. And finally, it's like we are a Norwegian company, so we sort of have this Scandinavian vibe to us as well. High quality of life, work-life balance, and while still having a touch of startup in us, of course, because we are still small. So that's our DNA. And on the visuals here, you can see our actual team. So it's a beautiful mix of people with different backgrounds and talents. And yeah, we almost got everything covered now. So we also got some audio guy now, so it's perfect.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think working on original IP, being able to have that kind of work-life balance. Game industry doesn't always have that connotation, but I'm really glad to hear that Riddlebit is improving that environment for everyone.
Yeah, I would also throw in that it's one of the keywords for the company is definitely ambitious because we are making a online first-person shooter game. It's a live service game as a first project, which is insane. But I mean, so far it's worked out. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So maybe we could have a look at a trailer of the Setback game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Roll it.
Darcy, I believe, has the gameplay.
Yeah, awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
I think I've got a few questions already.
Definitely.
There are some really interesting game mechanics around this, right? Firstly, someone's like punching the wall to traverse. I think that's something I want to definitely dive into. But what makes Setback different from other FPS games out there?
Yeah, so you want to take it?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, so there's a few different ones. The biggest thing is, of course, as the name is, Setback, which is when you instead of dying, you're rewinded back through time. I believe right now it's about 5 seconds back in time. So that's like the biggest thing. But what is interesting is even more than that. What often stands out to players is what you just pointed out, the punching on the walls and stuff. So even though the setbacking is our claim to fame, we call it the parkour gunplay. And right now it mostly is limited to how you traverse the map through punching. And then also we have like launch pads and those kind of things, and
vaulting.
Yeah, and the vaulting. And if you punch the pads, some stuff happens. But in the future, we have even more movement mechanics that are in discussions now. We're going to add. And then the other really big thing that's kind of unique is we have item usage that's a little bit similar to like Mario Kart, which I haven't really seen much in a shooter. And some of the items are kind of standard things. They're very similar to like a grenade, but then other ones are like gravity whiffs and gravity wells and messing around and bending science to make excuses for really cool items that we like in the game.
Right, interesting. So it's like using those items to affect the player's movement mainly. Like that seems to be the interaction.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's a fun and challenge at the same time because there's no dying. Every other shooter, the main win or die kind of thing is that someone is killed. But since we don't have dying, that means every game mode has to have some objective that needs to be accomplished that isn't the result of dying. And so that's both kind of our biggest unique aspect and also our biggest challenge when we designed the game as well.
Yeah, no, that's definitely quite a different way to approach that interaction. Right? You said it's multiplayer, so how many players are you planning to have in a single match or single game?
Yeah, so the number changes all the time, but we tried many, like a lot of players, but that was chaos. So yeah, we tried to reduce it down to 8 now. That's the current number, current limit, but we might adjust it as we continue, designing the game. But it's definitely not like a 100-person battle royale. That would be insane.
Right. So more like a 4v4 kind of squad situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we've got a question from our audience. So Cheyenne Paris, thanks for reaching out. Can you use items to impact time?
Yes,
definitely.
You absolutely can. We have a few items. We have. I don't want to mention it, so Jonathan's going to start laughing as I say it. There is the slow field that amongst the team I kind of get teased for. It was in the trailer for a second there, and we can show it later when we show off the game. But essentially, it's a a sphere that you throw, and then it expends this big sphere, and everything inside of it is slowed. That includes how fast you move, how fast the projectile moves, how fast you reload. It looks really cool. It's very frustrating when it happens to you, but it is very funny to see. And for some reason, I pick up the item and I'm like chasing Jonathan or something. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to throw it and slow him down because it's going to go so well. And I end up slowing myself 9 times out of 10. And they just laugh as they run away.
Yeah, it's called pulling a Jordan.
Yes, we call it pulling a Jordan in the office. I do it so often. But we have that item and a couple other ones that play around time as well.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I guess super important to get the right balance of this mechanic. And I know that you're playtesting at the moment. So, how can players kind of get involved in the playtest?
Yeah, I can take that one as well. So we have regular playtests. We have them every month. Right now, we have them bi-weekly. Thank you for that QR code. Yes, pointing towards it. So yeah, if you scan that, it'll take you to our Steam page. You can also just search Setback on Steam and will come up. And you'll see a big old button there that says request access to playtest. Also wishlist, please, is very helpful. But if you request access to the playtest, I will see that, and then I will grant you access. We're not really trying to restrict it right now. Everyone is welcome to join. And right now we have them bi-weekly. So we had it last weekend. So the weekend after this coming up one, we will have it again. Then we also have special events where we keep it open for longer. So usually for the bi-weekly ones, it's just for a weekend, like from Friday afternoon to Monday morning. But we have special events like for the previous Christmas events. We had it open for like 2 weeks or so. Right. And for those, we'll normally have a bunch of streamers playing and tournaments, and we'll make unique maps or skins, and we'll have some changes to the game. And that's really also to help us kind of test having different events in the game and dipping our foot into esports and trying out tournaments and stuff. But yeah, you absolutely can play it. But right now we limit it to every other weekend because that gives us enough time to both collect playtesting data, but also enough time to work on the game.
Yeah. We could also hint that on the weekend that begins with the 17th, we will run a small Valentine's themed event. So that would be really, romantic.
Yes.
Please join.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. So, just a reminder to our audience, make sure to wishlist it. Make sure to go on Steam and actually be part of this playtest. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, please do.
I know that, Jordan, you live stream as well, right? You live stream some of your interactions.
Pretty much every playtest weekend. Like as soon as it opens on that Friday afternoon, I will live stream. And I normally play with 1 or 2 people from the office, then along with our players. We have some people who come and go. Then we have like a few evangelists that as soon as they see that game launched, and because we're friends on Steam, they just hop on and play. So they're always there. And so I always stream on Fridays generally, then sometimes on Sundays as well. And then whenever we have tournaments, which I love to do, even if I don't always win them, I'm always streaming during those as well. Because that's everyone, I kind of think it shows off Setback in its best light because it's very competitive and a lot of fun in that environment.
Yeah, no, that's great, right? I think having that kind of community engagement is so important. Especially for a new kind of game where this mechanic hasn't really been tried before, right? There's a lot to learn, and that's just so cool that so anyone can get involved at this point in time. That's amazing.
Definitely.
So I guess let's kind of go on to a bit more about how Setback is using AWS. How are you developing this game? It sounds quite complex. Also, how are you hosting it? Because there's this multiplayer element, right? And if the playtest is that open and global, then I just want to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So if I could get some visuals now, I can show something called GameLift, which is one of the AWS services. So as a player, you may wonder, how do you get into a server in a multiplayer game? Let me just switch. There you go. Right. So GameLift is one way of doing that, and it's a quite simple service in what it does, but the way it does it is it essentially saves us a lot of trouble of managing servers mainly. So on the visual here, I show the general pipeline of the service. It's that you have the game client, which is the game that you get on Steam, and the actual program. And when you press play in the menu, you send a message to GameLift, which is hosted at AWS, and as GameLift receives that message, it checks a pool of servers that's on their end, and it checks if is it available or is there a appropriate server for this player, like skill-wise or latency wise. Like it does all the logic for finding the best server for you. And then it establishes connection. So it sends like the address of the server back to the player, to the client, and then they can connect. And from there, the game engine typically takes over the networking. So it's a very like a straightforward pipeline to get you into the server, into the right place. And that's sort of part of a bigger ecosystem, of course. This is a very grossly simplified version of our backend. And so is this. It's way more complex, but this is just like the bigger ecosystem that we're running on. So as you can see, the game client communicates to a lot of the services, like when you update your store or get your challenges, like in Fortnite, for example, or you have analytics on the game server or something. There's always there's always another component, and a lot of components that sort of help us as well, making it more convenient to develop the game, automation and stuff. So that's the general overview.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And I know there's so much under the hood that you could explain more about. I guess like the first thing really, you started off kind of as students with a concept and this idea, and you're learning along the way. So like, did you consider any alternatives to GameLift, or how was that experience of actually using and learning how to use GameLift as well? Any tips that you could share? As well?
So we did commit to like the AWS stack a long time ago. So it's been like one of the oldest components of our project. But before that, we did the survey, looking around at alternatives, and it's a lot of good services out there. Google and Microsoft had their stack. But we did settle on AWS because it did fit our needs. Like GameLift was stable at the time we started testing it, so it's sort of and that was what we were looking for, really, a way to connect the server. Because previously we were like hosting our own servers and just doing it like a LAN party almost. So that didn't scale. So like the general like tip I have for developers who want to get into AWS and sort of develop from there is to learn the core services. So like figure out like the basic features or the basic services of AWS, like S3, EC2, Lambda, etc., DynamoDB, because most of the services kind of use the others. So they sort of build on top of something. They're just abstractions. So it's it's like learning how in programming, when you know one language, the others make more sense. So like find the core, and it will save a lot of time. It's quite nice.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Thank you. And I guess just maybe you could share with the audience, if it's okay, like how are you implementing that kind of replay or rewind mechanic? Like, there's a lot of people on the map. There's a lot of things that are going on, and latency is super important. So how does that kind of work?
So the setback mechanics is actually quite simple in implementation. If you don't like programming courses, it's a stack, and we pop the stack when you get setbacked. So it's just a recording a long list of positions. I think it's like 10 times a second or something, and we just pick off that list until you are 5 seconds in the past. So. So of course the details, the effects and stuff, that's more complex, but the actual tracking it's quite straightforward. It's something that you could almost sketch up on a blackboard and just it would probably be quite accurate. So
no, that's kind of clever how you can just use that particular data structure, right?
Exactly.
We have a question from destabilization. Someone from our audience. How quickly were you able to get started with GameLift?
That's way back. So I think it was probably a week or two of hacking, testing, some stuff, but we went back to it multiple times. So it's not I mean, if you're inexperienced like we were, it's not a plug and play and forget. It's a plug, get it up and running, and then you come back, for more complex features like matchmaking, scaling, multiple regions, that kind of stuff. But the basics are actually more or less what I described earlier. The asking to join, getting the IP back, and that's about it. The only thing though is that connecting it to the game engine, that it should be ideally some kind of plugin that helps you with the heavy lifting there, because or you need to know how to make APIs and stuff.
Yeah, that's good feedback there. And which game engine are you using for Setback?
Yeah, so we did start like the first demo you saw, that was Unity, but we switched in I think 2019 to Unreal. So we've been there since, and we love Unreal. We absolutely love Unreal, and it meshes really well with the AWS stack as well.
4 or 5? Which Unreal?
5, latest.
5. Wow.
Absolutely latest and greatest. And that's part of our tech DNA as well. Like we are sort of in a position to update the engine and use the latest as for now at least. We might lock it at some point.
Yeah, and I guess with using Unreal 5, what platforms were you thinking of launching Setback on then? Because we're on Steam. It's on Steam at the moment, so PC. But the game engine is so flexible.
Yeah. So the stupid answer is all, but obviously not literally all. But the obvious ones are PC, and then the most popular consoles: Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. But we are also thinking about mobile, for example. But obviously that requires a bit of a redesign on controls and stuff. So, but it's a bigger market if you have a bigger platform availability. So
yeah, for sure.
But the engine helps there.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing. Okay, cool. So just gonna do a bit of a shout out. So if you've just joined our live stream and you're in the audience, I've got Jonathan and Jordan from Riddlebit Software who are showing us their first-person shooter game, Setback. Interesting game mechanic of rewinding back in time instead of dying. And players can join the playtest today on Steam. So use this as an opportunity to share your thoughts, actually play the game, and also you can actually join the Riddlebit development team on Discord as well. So I think they'd be really happy to have your feedback, get to hear your thoughts on how the game's set up. And additionally, if you're a game developer in our audience and you want to showcase your game on AWS GameTime, please reach out to us. We have a landing page for you to register and register that interest, and we'll definitely reach out to you. So if we can get that QR code for our landing page on for the AWS GameTime one, we'll later too. That's
you
fine.
can keep ours up too.
So that's right. Lots of QR codes today. Also, really cool to hear that our audience is already registering for the playtest. So thanks for doing that. Right? So really being part of this journey for a little bit.
Thank you, F a heart. I hope I'm saying your name right.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the gameplay segment. Let's do the game time bit. Really excited to see what you can show us today.
Fingers crossed for the technical stuff.
Should we answer this question from Jacket real quick before we move on? And actually, I can get stuff set up while you answer.
Yeah. Okay.
So Jacket with the Gun, one of our biggest fans actually. He asked how long on average does it take to implement an item, and that's a complex question because some items are very technically demanding. They require like new features in the game, fundamental ones, but the basic ones are really fast actually. So an example is the previous playtest. We introduced 2 new items, and those were implemented really quickly. So a couple of weeks, but that's not the. It really depends on the item, of course. It could be fast because we have developed a general system for it.
And where does that kind of inspiration come from? Like, is there like a roadmap of items that are being rolled out, or are you constantly revising that roadmap? Just curious.
Yeah. So we actually did a couple of weeks ago. We did a workshop. So we just bring the whole team together, and we do a brainstorming session. We revise the current items. We discuss a bit about what items are supposed to be, and what are the roles, what are the rules, and then we just do the massive brainstorming. So we come up with like 100 ideas almost. So, so we just sort them by what we want and what's possible, and all of a sudden they're in the game.
Yeah.
So I think the gameplay segment looks ready now.
Yeah, I got Darcy in our squad here.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Jumping in here a little bit as well to do a little game time. Looking forward to that. Awesome.
And Cheyenne Parrish, just want to say thanks for sharing on the socials and stuff. Awesome. And Matt Cam, really appreciate it. So this is our main menu here before we really dive in. A lot of the UI definitely needs work, but you can see the different outfits and stuff we have Fun fact, the reason she has these like sloth shoulders and arms is when Unreal Engine updated from 5.0 to 5.1. This happened magically, and then just we haven't got around to solving that quite yet. But yeah, that's why there's sloth arms suddenly. Yeah, so like I mentioned that we did events in the past, and we've done like a Christmas events where we made these skins for that and everything, and these like adorable hats and shoes, and yeah. So yeah, that's our main menu, but I'll go ahead and get us in the game so that we can check it out a little bit. And I think I'll go ahead and turn the sound off when we get in.
Yeah. So we are playing with Darshi now. So he's in our squad, which is a highly functional.
He's getting pumped.
yeah. I've been stretching my fingers the whole day. Time.
So I can explain what's going on the screen here while Jordan is concentrating.
Here's my favorite item.
So now you can look at him pulling a Jordan. Actually,
I'm not going to pull a Jordan live. This team will record it, and I'll never live it down.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So now Darshi is slowed, as you can see right there. And I can actually. No, I slowed myself. Crap.
I did not see that coming. I do my Counter-Strike sneaking around the corner. It doesn't work.
Yeah. So you can see how even the projectiles and the reloading, everything is slower.
Yeah.
It's a monster. You can destroy it though, which is the good news. Just like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now you are playing the bomb tag mode, which is a game mode that's essentially a tag but with a bomb. So a game of tag. Yeah. So the ring that's approaching, the red one, that's if you touch it, you get a bomb. And the bomb can be passed around until it blows up after 30 seconds. And whoever has the bomb when the time is out, well, they're dead. Or eliminated. I'm sorry, not dead. You can't find Setback.
I can see how this really is such a good game for any age.
Yeah.
And that's something that, really
valuable.
Yeah.
You're going to punch your way up the cliff.
I was trying, but I bought enough time for Darshi to not get me at least.
No, I got slapped.
So this is quite an intensive game mode. And you pass the bomb by punching them. And that's a good segue into our one of our coolest mechanics.
Oh, there's Jack.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and throw us into a new game.
No.
You want to stay here?
Yeah.
Okay, I will quickly dunk on the bots. Huge flex. So this is actually, someone had asked about how long it takes to develop a new item. This was one of our more recent ones. We've only had this live for one playtest. We call it the gravity well. And as you can see, he's force crouched. Essentially, when you try to go through it, it just yanks you down to the ground. Yeah. And this is our other new item, which is this giant, massive, what do we call it again?
Laser, sky beam.
Orbital strike, I think. And it's just this massive, giant laser from the sky. And now I'm dead as well.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and get us in a new match here.
Neon dreams. That's all I'm feeling. We tried to experiment a little bit to share two screens, but in order to even get the screen time sharing on StreamYard, which is the tool we're using, it was a bit tricky. You have to do virtual cam. Jordan's done virtual cam through OBS, and then to share both screens. But we work on that. It would be cool to see how good I am. All you can see now is getting killed.
So we do have Jacket with a gun from the chat and Twitch and the lobby now, so he's going to style on us probably. There he is, moving around the map.
But you have you're on the same team, so it's we won. You should win.
That's true. It's me and Darshi against Jacket, so we should win.
Good that I knew that, because I've been doing friendly fire, I think.
Yeah,
that's a smoke bomb right there.
This is the payload mode, which is inspired by other payload modes in other games, but it's a bit different in the way that you run around the map and pick up fuel and deposit it in the payload, and it moves in your team's direction if you're in the lead for fuel.
Yes.
So it's quite intense, and it's currently hard to do comeback, so please get an early head start on this one.
Yeah, this is a very new game mode, so we're still working out how to best balance and stuff like that.
So if you punch the fuel cells, Darshi, and then punch the wagon without being setback, because you drop it when you setback, then you'll get in the lead.
So Jacket just picked it up, but if I can manage to shoot him, I can steal it. There you go. So now I can steal it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jacket.
There you go. It's turned around.
Yeah, now it's going in our direction. We're getting the points.
Don't
I
embarrass
got
yourself.
a stamina boost.
You need to
so
win.
that's nice.
So it's like a real
Yeah.
tug of war, basically, from making the payload move across the map, right? That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
So Jonathan and I guess also a question like indirectly to Lars as well, who you work with to develop it, and for you too as well, Jordan. But like some of the inspirations that you've had for this game, because I get like a little bit of a Tron vibe, I got a little bit of a
So
different.
it's a long list because we do borrow a lot from different games. But some like for the gameplay, there's a lot of classic like arena shooter vibes. Quake, for example, it's brought up a lot. Like a game that's not, or a shooter that's not a military simulator, because that's quite rare actually. And on the visual side and the gameplay side, there's a lot of Overwatch in there, and Apex for movement, for example. Like for example, we are really trying to just almost duplicate the sliding from Apex because it feels so good. So, and Mario Kart for the chaos. It's borrowing from a lot of games, and that's kind of what we have to do when we are trying to explore almost a new genre. Yeah. Oh
God, there's our little strike.
So I'm seeing Jordan struggling here.
But
Yeah.
the gameplay
so much
is
going
really
on.
sharp, and it's like
Yeah.
you can tell that there's a good. You built it well in the engine, and you're using all the.
So one problem that we do have currently, though, is that the game is not necessarily that intuitive for new people. It's you get wrecked by the existing players. So we are going to focus a lot moving on the on like making the game more natural or intuitive for players. So tutorials, good UI, and just making the game make sense really. But because it's quite fun when you get into it, but getting into it is a hard part currently. So it's kind of the opposite of easy to learn, hard to master.
I don't feel that I'm using all the different functions. I'm just like spray and pray, and then That's
and
Oh, God.
right?
and
there
also
you go. I chucked
the
stack
setbacking is
bomb.
It doesn't necessarily help to just shoot people in this game, because setbacking is more intentional and strategic. So I like, if you just stand still and shoot people, you're not going to win. You need to play the objective as well, which usually is in other games just kill people as much as possible. But here it's not going to help you unless you do it at the right time, at the right place. So,
Will you see your characters kind of be a difference between like a tank and a support role? And
so actually we are flirting with some ideas in that direction, with some player customization and weapon customization. For example, as you can see, if Jordan could like switch up the weapons. Right now we just have enabled every weapon, but in the future we are going to have the player commit to certain weapons, for example. So there will definitely be different playing styles and different like loadouts.
Yes.
But it's not a hero shooter though, so it's not like Overwatch where you become like a specific character, and that's because you are representing yourself. You are a athlete in this sport of Setback.
I see I have a fan there as well, and I'm winning. Let's say
We are getting our butt kicked by both a bot and Jacket with a gun right now.
So this is we should remove this footage.
I think he's dancing on top of the cart.
I think I saw that too. But Jordan, we saw you punch your way out of the gap in the middle. That was incredible.
I got stuck here. I'll try to do it on purpose, and I'm going to fail here because that was a panic. I failed. See, that was a panic punching out that I did. But you can do that quite well if you
can do it in instant.
Oh God! Now I can't do it. I'm trying to do it. We have other players that no problem. They will just move across this whole thing without ever touching
it's
the
like
water.
Second nature.
It's incredible. I mean, I've heard before when before I even got into the game industry, the whole who's better, devs or players? It is undoubtedly the players.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
I guess we kind of failed miserably against bots. That tells a lot about the skills gap. Yeah.
more balancing.
Exactly.
True.
So, I mean, we have the playtesting that's going on, and you're collecting a lot of data, a lot of feedback from Discord. How are you using all of this, right? How are you making sense of all of this information that's coming through?
Yeah. So it's kind of a two sides to it. It's the organic community feedback sessions where we just interact with our players, have forums, ask them really, and then there's the more technical analytics side of it where we collect data and analyze that. And in Riddlebit we try to utilize both in harmony.
Okay.
So for the player feedback, we obviously use our Discord a lot. So if you have thoughts about this game, then jump in and share them with us, definitely. We might pull some forums and etc. But on the more detailed side, for example, which weapon do people prefer? We can just check the data and see which they actually use. So it's really convenient to have this the objective truth, quote unquote, and as well as the opinionated players.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And I think it's really, you're crafting a game, right? This is a concept, an idea that started from however many years back, and now it's really coming alive. Have there been any bugs? I mean, it's pretty polished right now, honestly, and it's so fun to see the gameplay, and Darcy's doing a great job playing.
So we have no bugs, unfortunately, ever. But it's a perfect game. No, it's bugs all the time, and of course it's surprisingly it doesn't crash and burn that much. It's quite stable on a technical side, the servers are quite stable. But there are a lot of weird bugs. Suddenly you fly through the floor, or the items are just thrown far away. It's this weird shit that happens in all games, and especially those in development. And I don't want to kill the cool footage here right now, but later on we can throw up the bot bug, for example, where we actually used the analytics to detect that bots were really, really into jumping into the specific part of the water of the game. And that was a bug in the navigation system. So we picked that up by seeing a absolute hotspot in the data. So
who discovered that particular bug? That must have been a bit traumatic to watch, really. Why are all the bots jumping into this particular area?
Yeah, definitely. So it was kind of a joint effort. I was I don't
want to interrupt Jonathan, but here's a bug right here. So that was my teammate that was a bot. And you can see he's just shooting at me and not helping me win. He's just instead shooting at me. There's no friendly fire, so it didn't do damage, but he was just shooting at me instead of shooting the bad guy.
Yeah. So the bots were, detected from the heat map while I was just testing a visualization system, actually. I just saw something really odd. All the bots were in one spot always.
Yeah.
Through every match. But then Jordan, who plays a lot, being marketing, he confirmed it that bots are really weird now. So they tend to act strangely. That's how it works. And now his
I don't even know how he got me.
On...
I don't even know how he got me.
Oh no!
Oh, we won this time though. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and bring us back to.
I think we had a video of the bot.
Yeah.
And I'll
yes.
myself out because I jumped in a little bit nicely for the game time. Thank you for that, Jordan. That was exciting. I really love
Well played. Well played.
Awesome game. Cool. I'll keep going. I'll go back to handling the stream.
Yeah. Thanks, Darcy.
Yeah. Sweet.
Thank you.
Do you want to pull up the bot bug footage thing?
Yeah, he's doing it.
Okay. Sweet.
So, it's audio. It's with audio actually. There it is. Yeah, it's a small one. Right.
It should be full. I mean, it was
I
a
think
normal size.
The layout is a bit weird here. There we go. Okay. So as you can see, we have a heat map of our bot data. So the humans are filtered out. And as you can see down to the right, it's just this big yellow dot. And the interpreting this is that 90% of the time the bots die or are Setback, exactly there. So the same spot always. And that's because they think that the cliff is safe to stay on. So they jump and they can't control themselves in the air. So they just, jump into the water. And then when they get back, they will retry because they still think it's possible. And they're stuck in an infinite loop there, and it looks really unsettling. So
that hotspot is really hot compared to the rest of the map. We've got a question. We've got a few questions actually. So
nice.
Mark Cloud Arc, thank you for your question. Do you have an architecture diagram of all the components?
So not at hand right now, but for the AWS stuff, there are some good guides that we are based on most of our architecture on. And there's like this cloud architect Juho from AWS who's posted a lot of articles on the blog of AWS, which covers. I mean, our system is like 90% like that, with some like special tweaks, and the rest of it is just the game side of it, which is harder to document by diagram, definitely. So yes and no. We do have it internally, but it's not here.
It's me who typed that, by the way.
Wow. So you got an excited fan here.
Yeah.
Freljord size. So yeah, thank you for remember the wish list. Freljord size.
I'll remember that.
Yeah.
No, very cool. And then I guess we have a separate question, was just how much of this is deployed on AWS?
One more time, I didn't hear.
So how much of the game is deployed on AWS?
Yeah, so most of it is deployed there, or it's like the server build is put there. So it's kind of the what we need in the server is sent to AWS, and what we need in the client is sent to Steam. So it's like split in two. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Nice. I think if the audience still has any questions, feel free to keep sending them across. Otherwise, I think we're actually going to start wrapping up this episode. So thank you so much. Oh, okay. Destabilization. What was the easiest part of building on AWS, and what was the hardest?
So I would say using AWS SAM was the easiest. It's just, you write a template and all of a sudden you have this full architecture running. The hardest part was the beginning, getting into everything and like seeing all these mysterious words everywhere and terms and systems that you just need to, that are assumed that you know about. And, it's like, it's literally like a year-long course and to become like an AWS expert and stuff. So that just speaks to the massive amount of stuff there. So you can get lost easily. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cheyenne Paris again. Also, any plans for analytics for understanding playing behavior or any other use case?
Yeah, so definitely that's a big part of our mission. And actually, personally, I'm doing my PhD on this exact topic. so that's certainly going to affect the game as well. And it's a cool active research field as well, because it's hard to understand behavior, but it's very, very interesting, and it can be very useful and to improve the game beyond what we can gather by feedback from players.
A really easy example of how we do that now is for level design. We showed the heat map, so that was for bots, but we can use it for our normal players too. If we see that like a bunch of people are falling in a certain aspect of the map, then that might mean we need to make that a little bit easier, right? Or if we see, so that's one really easy example that we do use now when we're trying to redesign a map or make a new one. We'll look at like what areas are people kind of falling into the water and getting set back, and like, is that good? Do we want that, or should we fix that? So,
and camping spots and high ground advantage. That's very visible in the data.
That's true as well.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I guess when you have that information in front of you, you have an idea of what's fun and I guess what's fair. So like there's that kind of tension there, right, in game design.
Yep,
definitely.
But, it's so cool that you'll have a full-fledged game as part of your research. I think that's bring that to your Viva, and I think that'll lead to great things.
Oh yeah.
But thanks so much, Jonathan and Jordan, for joining us today. It's really, really cool to see your development of Setback so far. It's so cool that we're actually able to see it played live and actually have and encourage our audience to play test as well and be part of it. So kind of final question around release date. What's kind of the plan here for Setback?
Yeah, so of course this depends a lot of funding and technical issues that we aren't aware of yet, but roughly a year we should start to approach an early access, a proper early access, with a full business model running and stuff. So, but no promises.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fingers crossed. It's looking awesome so far.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, great. And then we're coming towards the end of the episode. So any final words of wisdom for our audience of those who may want to make their own game or get into the video game industry? Just any final tips?
Yeah, so I can begin. Maybe
you go first.
Yeah, so mine is don't be too proud. Don't be proud, and don't do everything yourself. So find a good team and find good engines, find good frameworks, and use things that do the heavy lifting for you. So you can do side projects and do things from scratch to learn, but don't be afraid to use a good engine and build on others, because you will literally save 90% of the time if you do it right, as compared to doing everything yourself. So that's my 5 cents. And Jordan?
Yeah, I would say to especially if you're trying to get into the game industry, but you don't go for the typical roles that I mentioned before, like a dev or an artist. But even in those roles as well, if you kind of think that you don't have the experience, the easiest way is to just start. Because when I got hired here, I didn't have a lot of experience in the game industry itself. I had skills that could translate to that. And then I had never touched any game engines, really. I didn't have a really big tech background, but I just got started. And since starting here, I've learned a bunch of different software that we have. Just this past weekend during a game jam we had, I made a little game where you could fly a dragon through a map, and I learned it in a weekend. So yeah, I think my best advice would be, when you think of a game engine or making a game or learning a new software, and even using AWS, for example, it can look intimidating at first. You open it up and you're like, oh my God, so many buttons. But you can learn it, right? You just have to sit. There's content on YouTube, there's tutorials, and you can just learn yourself. Then before you know it, you'll be making your own games and everything. Yeah.
Oh, and we got one final question from our audience. Great session today. Last question. If you could do it all over again, would you do anything different or differently?
It's a great question, and it's something that we should ask ourselves all the time, really. So technically, we have already done this. I think we rebooted the project 3 or 4 times softly, and we're all kind of doing it again, with some small design things. So the thing I would do different is, to apply everything I learned, of course, and do it in a more efficient and clean way, because we did take some shortcuts in the past, and it doesn't always pay off.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that. I mean, it looks great so far. Really excited for the the early access release. Thanks so much for spending time with us. So in today's episode, we've gone through using Amazon GameLift servers for hosting multiplayer games. You've seen it in action for this for Setback, so a first-person shooter. You've also heard from the Riddlebit team on how they engage the player community and how they're using playtesting to improve their game. And then actually just some of the really interesting insights that come from the playtesting and how that improves and influences the game experience. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us today. Just a reminder to our audience that, please wish list Setback on Steam, join in on the playtesting, join the Discord server. And I just want to say a big thank you to our live stream technicians working behind the scenes. So Darshi and Camille in the chat. Thank you so much. And, just to wrap this up, I know that Riddlebit are kind of traveling and things are open now. How can our audience meet you in person? What's the next event that they can see you at in 2023?
Yeah, I can kind of take that. Yeah. So first off, the easiest thing is to hop in our Discord. We're always on there. It is a direct line to us. You can call us out individually, or you can just talk to us. So that's the best place if you just want to ask us anything from tech questions in game dev or the game, or you can definitely talk to us there. In terms of in person, the easiest is we will always go to Spill Expo, which is Norway's biggest game thing. Outside of that, it really depends on funding. If we're in a year from now, our game is released and we're rocking and we're doing great, then we'll probably be at all the major game comms and stuff. But right now, the best place to meet us in person would be at Spill Expo.
Yeah, and if you're in the industry, we'll see at GDC.
We will be at GDC as well, yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
I just wanted to thank you as well for joining in on our second episode. This has been a very amazing learning journey, and yeah, super excited to have worked with you today. Played your games. I've been playing it with my son as well, and on the weekends when the playtest is open. And yeah, I'm just keen to see this come to fruition. So more Setback for the people. Awesome.
Yes, heavily agree.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool.
So just want to remind our audience as well, if you have any feedback or you want to be part of AWS GameTime and showcase on an episode like this, do reach out to us on the landing page that we have for you. And until the next episode of AWS GameTime, keep building on AWS and keep gaming.
Yeah. See you guys later.
Bye.
Ciao.